Hey guys, before the video begins, I wanted to talk about this new channel icon that you've probably already noticed. It was made by the lovely Imaginations. Thank you so much for this, Jen. It came out fantastic. If you want to see more of Jen's art, you can check out her YouTube channel Imaginations and follow her on Twitter at _Imaginations. Links are in the description. Thanks again, Jen, and I hope you guys enjoy the video. When I say the phrase classic arcade game, chances are a bunch of names pop into your head. You know the ones, arcade staples that everybody knows about and that most people have played at least once in their lives. And one that I love is Spy Hunter, developed by Bally Midway and released in 1983 and later ported to various consoles and home computers. This is a game where you play as a spy, racing down the road, shooting enemies, getting weapons from your trucker friend, and driving into bikers at full speed and dying a horrible death. It's simple, like many arcade games, but it's incredibly fun and was very successful, but outside the arcade, Spy Hunter never really had any major sequels until 2001. Well, there was a Spy Hunter 2 released in 1987, but that game kinda sucks. However, the NES port of Spy Hunter, which was developed by Sunsoft, received its own sequel in 1991, Super Spy Hunter. Now, contrary to its title, it is not a Super Nintendo game, nor is it actually a Spy Hunter game. Now let me explain that second part. In Japan, this game is known as Battle Formula, but they noticed that the game was very similar to Spy Hunter and were worried about potential copyright issues. So when Sunsoft brought the game over internationally, they obtained the rights to the Spy Hunter name and released it as Super Spy Hunter. But does the game still hold up today? Well, yeah, it does, but you'd better be prepared because this game doesn't hold back. In Super Spy Hunter, you need to reach the end of each stage in your spy car, and you do this by grabbing power-ups, avoiding bullets, and shooting up every enemy that gets in your way. Up and down on the D-pad changes your speed, and left and right move you, well, left and right. You can speed up and slow down to avoid bullets and even stop completely, but that means that vehicles behind you pose more of a risk, so you need to keep your speed in mind at all times. As for attacking, you have 3 cannons attached to your vehicle, which you fire by pressing B. One always shoots forward, but the other 2 are located on each side of the car, and you aim them by holding down the A button. Aiming is a little weird at first, but eventually you'll get the hang of it. Your goal is to make it through each level and then defeat a boss at the end. Most of the time you're in a car, but occasionally you'll be forced to use other vehicles which aren't as cool, unfortunately. The boat is basically the car with worse handling, and it isn't too bad honestly, but the plane plays like a space shooter like Galaxian or 1942, and it's only not fun because the one level you use it in drags on for way too long. Thankfully, you can also grab upgrades and special weapons from these trucks to make it easier for you. The power upgrade makes your cannons deal more damage, the life upgrade extends your health bar, and the rapid fire upgrade increases your fire rate. All of these upgrades stack, and you can get multiple stages of each upgrade to turn your car into a badass machine of death. But the most important upgrade is the cannon control. Collect this and your side cannons will automatically aim at enemies. Trust me, get this as soon as you can. It makes short work of most of these enemies. But be careful not to collect this upgrade again because that brings you back to manual aiming and you'll have to pick up another one. As for the special weapons, they're not as useful as the power-ups, but they can be pretty cool. I really love the gun attack where your side cannons detach from your car and chase after enemies. It's a great way to clear the screen. And speaking of clearing the screen, the bomb weapon acts as a screen nuke, and it's definitely effective at hurting my eyes. The Yo-Yo Slick is pretty good at dealing with enemies behind you, but I find it's pretty situational, and the Tire Slash attack I barely used. My main problem with these weapons is that you press the A button to use them, which means if you want to save your weapon, you can't change the directions your cannons are firing unless you have auto-aim. So there's a lot of upgrades and weapons at your disposal, but even with all that, this game is pretty freaking difficult. Most of the stages are pretty straightforward, and while some enemies can be a little tricky, most of them are easy to deal with. Your car handles fairly well, and after picking up upgrades, is really proficient at taking down threats. The biggest challenge in the levels are all the traps and dangers on the road that you need to avoid. There are jumps you need to speed up for, turns and forks in the roads, sinkholes in the desert, and a few instant kill traps in the final level. You'll probably die fairly often, but with some memorization and enough skill, it won't be too much of a problem. The real difficulty in this game comes from the boss battles. These guys are tough as hell. Even with a fully upgraded vehicle, you have to be pretty agile and know just where to position yourself to take the boss down. For the most part, the bosses are enjoyable to fight, and it's super satisfying when you lay the finishing blow. There's 2 bosses, however, that I absolutely hate. First is the boss in Stage 5, simply because it takes forever to kill. The first part is this section where you have to shoot a path through these rocks, nothing that exciting, but then you get to the actual boss and it becomes a huge waiting game. You gotta dodge missiles and bullets and wait for the small window you're given to deal damage, and this thing takes a lot of hits to kill. But nothing compares to this eyeball machine thing. This asshole right here can go die in a fire. First, he comes at you from the bottom of the screen, so he'll hurt you if you're in the center of the road. Second, you can't hurt him until he attacks first, which is just stupid. Third, instant kill lasers. Fourth, the small hitboxes on this guy are incredibly hard to hit because this guy keeps moving around and the auto-aiming cannons don't help that much. Fifth, he has a second phase where he spews out bullets that are really hard to dodge while you're still trying to get hits on him. And if that wasn't enough, you fight this guy twice, once in stage 4 and then again in the final stage. This second fight is pure hell simply because he has more health this time. The safest strategy I found is to circle around him and hold the fire button down, but it's so difficult to land hits on him while doing this, so it takes forever this way. And the boss after that, the final boss of the game, was piss easy by comparison. It's just this lame ass rocket that's not too tough. Bam, congratulations, you win. And here's the thing, these stages and bosses are great, for the most part, if you have a fully upgraded vehicle by your side. When you die, your car loses some of its power, meaning you have to collect upgrades again. And I just can't see how it's possible to beat some of these bosses without any power-ups, and honestly, that's a big flaw. This game is really fun, make no mistake, but because it doesn't want to lose the arcade mentality of the original Spy Hunter, it's pretty brutal. Nevertheless, the game is still satisfying. I may have had a miserable time with this eyeball dickhead, but it felt so damn good when I finally got him. But if there's one aspect of this game that really shines, it's the music. God damn, this soundtrack is amazing. The songs are fast-paced and catchy, and they perfectly match the action on screen. I especially love the track that plays in stages 2 and 6, which is a remix of the theme from the first Spy Hunter, which in itself is taken from the famous Peter Gunn theme, but here, it sounds great. And for the NES, the graphics are really impressive. Some of these graphics really push the limits of the hardware, which unfortunately leads to a lot of slowdown, especially when there's a lot of enemies on the screen. But that's not always a bad thing, as it can help you against some of the tougher bosses. The bottom line is Super Spy Hunter is hard. Super hard, but it is super satisfying and super fun to play. It expands on the groundwork laid out by the original Spy Hunter and brings some more action into it. If you're looking for an arcade-style driving game on the NES, you could do a lot worse than Super Spy Hunter. And if you found the arcade game too simple, then try this game out. You'll appreciate the new additions. Just remember to bring all the skill you can, because you're gonna need it. Oh, son of a bitch!